Hey Vish, how you doing?
The intro is so metal. I
It's
love
so
it.
metal. Hey everyone. I'm Kip Davis. I'm a biblical scholar and a specialist in early Judaism and the Dead Sea Scrolls, and welcome to my channel. It's the 2nd of December. It's 3 in the afternoon here on the Pacific Coast. The specific coast, the best coast. I'm here with my good friend and producer Vishanti. There she is. Sorry, I
Hi.
am also directionally challenged. And yeah, so here we are, back from I guess this is the end of American Thanksgiving weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the
Ha- hap-
grind.
Happy Thanksgiving, Vishanti.
Sure. Mine was extremely boring and
Oh,
uneventful. So I just
oh.
sat at the house. I didn't really do anything special.
I
Most
mean,
of my friends were doing their own thing. So I live across the country from my family. Well, my
yeah.
nuclear family. So
Especially coming back from the 96-hour nonstop party. That
yeah,
was
no kidding. That was great.
that was SBL. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what this means.
Oh, yeah, you're short king. It's
I'm a short.
true.
What does that mean?
hmm
I don't know what it means.
Um, it's just a positive way to acknowledge your height not being that of
A
people's expectations. I mean,
giant.
I guess you look like you're 6 feet tall, at least on camera, and then people see you in person, they're
Interesting.
like, oh, okay, he's not one of the Nephilim, so.
Interesting how that works, eh? How you
hmm
get this impression. Who is that? I think I had that moment with who did I meet this weekend that I've seen around online. Maybe the strongest impression was from I mean I've met Mark Luchner before, but he
No,
was
he's a short king.
he
He's like
and he
real
was
life
like,
Wolverine size. Yeah.
yeah, but and like when I knew him, 10 years ago, he was, but now he's like, you know, the the Incredible Hulk. So
He's built like Wolverine in the
yeah,
comics. Like
yes,
he is the height and musculature of comic accurate Wolverine.
true, it's true. And he's short. He's
Yeah.
shorter than me. So
Yeah.
which yeah, it's that's a thing. That's something, right? So um not one of the modern. I'm also not one of the ancient Nephilim.
Nephelito.
Nephilito.
It's so
Okay.
Nephelito.
So Lawrence thought I
So
was
good.
at least 6 feet tall. I am
Mhm.
I have tried to. My wife insists that I can't be much more than 5'8". I'm 5'10" ish. I think I'm closer there. So I don't know.
I think you could do 5'10". I
You think
think
I could do
that would be
5'10"?
fair.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, and I
'Cause I
was
mean,
only
Matt Monger's
wearing
pretty tall in person. He's at least 6 feet.
Matt Monger.
hmm
Yeah, I guess he is. I never
hmm
noticed. So, Dan shorter than
Yeah.
you expected?
No, no. I mean, because I
Oh,
had
you've met
met
him
him
before. Yes,
before
it's true.
at DragonCon, so I already knew
Yeah.
what to expect there. But
So
yeah, I expected him to be like super super tall as well. But
the camera guy,
it's just
you
perspective.
just
Yeah,
you
camera
never
lies.
can. And I've heard things too about like there are people that you encounter online. I think we probably all sort of have like a default. Like all
hmm
people are this size, right?
hmm
Um or this
I
size.
will say this: I got to meet all but one Diablo critic in person, and by far the tallest of them all
Tallest?
is Dr. Jennifer Bird. It's solid foot on all the rest of them. She is very tall.
That's awesome. Guys,
hmm
I sadly did not get to meet Dr. Jennifer Bird in person.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
That's a shame. You should feel embarrassed.
I'm a little, yeah, but it's like it just it didn't work out. She didn't come to the conference until Sunday, and then we were both busy all day on Sunday, and I was hoping to see her in the evening at the Satan's Guide to the Bible screening, and she couldn't make it. She ended up being unable to make it on Sunday evening, and then she had her paper on Monday, but it wasn't until the afternoon session, and I had to run and catch. So it just this.
She also was presiding over a panel then like on Tuesday morning, but I know that you were kind of running around getting ready to leave or something.
You mean on Monday morning?
Oh, Monday. That's right. That's right, because you weren't there on Tuesday.
I was not there on Tuesday. So yeah, but anyhow, I guess we're here to talk about the conference, the 2024 SBL conference. Hayden, no, I did not get into any fights, but I probably narrowly missed a few. One of the things
ETS.
actually so I arrived, you came on Saturday, I think, right?
Saturday.
Yeah, so I arrived on Thursday afternoon. I was sharing a hotel room with our mutual friend, Dr. Joel Carrico. And after we got in, he and I went and had dinner with Dr. Matt Munger at this amazing whiskey bar in San Diego. The SBL conference was in San Diego, and this whiskey bar that we went to, they must have had like easily 1,000 bottles of whiskey. So poor Dr. Joel Carrico, it was all we could do to get him out of there. Ha! There he is. So I hope I can spill the tea, as one person says. Joel, I'll tell them, when I showed up at the hotel room, he was wandering around. He arrived a few hours before I did, but on Thursday, Joel was wandering around on foot all over. Oh yes, let's spill the whiskey. All over San Diego on foot. I think he told me he went to 6 or 7 liquor outlets looking for very specific bottles of whiskey, and he came back to the hotel, and over the course of the weekend was, this was, I learned, I had never had the opportunity to hang out at an SBL with Joel before. This was fun, but I learned that one of the things that Dr. Carrico does with his time at SBL, maybe it was a San Diego thing, I don't know, you can clarify this, Joel, but I mean, he spent his time shopping, looking for whiskey. He drove an Uber across town to go and pick up a bottle that he had set aside, after very awkwardly attempting to connect with an uncle that he hasn't spoken to in years, to see if maybe he would go and pick up the bottle for him. But yeah, it was so and there's a story behind this as well. One of the things, and I was very disappointed to have missed, I don't think you went either, but one of the things I was very disappointed to have missed was on Monday evening, Joel and his friend David Barnett. David Barnett is pretty active.
Oh yeah, Twitter, he's great.
So they, for the second year in a row, had put together a whiskey night, an SBL whiskey night. So he brought down a couple of bottles with him. David brought some bottles with him. A couple of other guys brought some bottles, and Joel bought a couple while he was down there. Apparently, it was a crazy successful, deliriously fun evening, because I was getting texts from my buddies at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Bro, where are you at?
Yeah, right. So, yeah. So
I did not go to that. I was, as they say, plum tuckered.
You were tuckered.
Plum tuckered out.
Plum tuckered. So
I was in bed by like 8 o'clock that night. I was dead.
Yeah. So maybe let's do this. Let's do this let's do this recap chronologically. So that was Thursday. I hung out with Matt and Joel. We set him straight about his opinions on child sacrifice. Coming soon, Joel. So we then Friday was a weird day. The reason I was able to go to SBL, it was kind of like a last minute thing for me, but the reason I was able to go was because there's a French film company that is making a documentary about Dead Sea Scrolls forgeries. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'm kind of a big deal. So they asked me they asked me to come down, wanted to do some interviews, and so I spent all day Friday with this film crew, which was very which was very interesting. Friday morning, they were staying in an Airbnb, so they asked me to meet them over there in the morning. It was a bit of a walk from the conference center. They booked the Airbnb in, one of the sketch areas of town, which was fun. So yeah, I went to meet them there, and then we drove out to like the beach and sat at they sat us at a picnic table. And by us, I mean, and this was also really awkward. They were filming it with me and with Michael Langlois from the University of Strasbourg. He's I'll just say he has been in the news more recently. You guys can look it up. I won't say anything about it, but it was, the first time I've seen him since he's been in the news. But we sat at a picnic table and like reminisced about those days back in Norway working on Dead Sea Scrolls forgeries. So yeah. So but that was pretty much my Friday. I did get to connect with Dan and Dan, Dan McClellan, Dan Beecher of Data Over Dogma. Had lunch with them, and then in the evening, I had a lovely evening on Friday. I met up with Zeke Priestrup and Tim Johnson, who were the director.
Satan's Guide.
Yeah, director and producer of Satan's Guide. They took me out for dinner, which was and Tim's wife Jeannie as well. And the crazy thing about this is, and this only kind of struck me after the fact. I was sitting down at a very nice dinner with Zeke's just a super cool, very nice guy, but Tim Johnston I think it's Johnson actually, directed Ants, and he directed Over the Hedge for DreamWorks Pictures. One of my kids' favorite animated movies when they were younger. I was sitting down at dinner with him and never even had the chance or the opportunity to talk to him about working on.
Message him on Blue Sky.
What's that?
Message him on Blue Sky.
I should. So it just I had this chance to pick the brain pick the brain of a Hollywood animation director, and I didn't do it. So I don't know what can I say. I'm sorry. So yeah, that was Friday. And yeah, you came in on Saturday afternoon,
A little bit after lunch.
a little bit after lunch. Took the
Yep.
train down.
Yes, I did. It was as gorgeous as it was made out to be. The Pacific Surfliner, the Amtrak. The train tracks actually run right up against the Pacific Ocean, right when you hit about San Clemente, and it was freaking gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful to be riding a train, essentially right on the edge of the beach, right on the edge of the ocean. And
wow,
I
that
quite
great.
enjoyed the view. It was really pretty. Did some reading on the way down, and it was funny. There were these guys that got on, I think in Irvine, full on, like they had their jeans and their blazers on with their cowboy hats, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But some of them had their spurs on to ride the train, and I thought that was amazing. Like,
that's interesting, right?
Not sure when you're gonna need to be spurring anything, but okay.
Did they leave their mounts tied up at the train station? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have loved to have seen if they had left their horses in Irvine, but yeah, it was a very nice train ride, very relaxing, and I get off and just walk over to the convention center. It didn't take more than about 15-ish minutes, and I was very, very pleased that my knee didn't give out on me, because when I was doing canvassing work for like voters this election cycle, for whatever reason, my left knee decided it was just gonna, and I started to panic, thinking, oh god, no, God. I'm not old enough to have knee problems yet. And it turns out it's probably my shoes. I had insoles in my combat boots all weekend, and I was fine. So
excellent.
I got a lot of steps in. I forgot how long the San Diego Convention Center is. So
and it's it's a lot of walking. Not just at the convention center either, but kind of in the area
to and from, all the grabbing food in the Gaslamp district and all that.
It's a lot. So and we met in the in the panel on what was that? It was it was a Hebrew Bible violence. Actually,
yeah.
I probably
so
still have it here.
I did a whole. Let me know if they uploaded their papers to that app, because if they did, I would like for you to send them to me. Okay. So this one was my favorite panel of the whole thing by far.
Her first one.
It was my first one. Violence and representation of violence in antiquity. There's like a whole programming track for just that topic. And this particular panel's theme was the Bible, genocide in Israel-Palestine, contemporary rhetoric and realities. And basically the whole point of it was to show how people have weaponized certain texts in like Joshua and the Hebrew Bible in order to dehumanize their enemies or to justify violence and genocidal rhetoric towards them. And all of the panelists were fire.
Yeah,
I was just like felling in my chair. So I wrote down a bunch of notes on this a few days ago while it was still fresh. Things that stood out to me were, I think it was Rachel Haverlock's panel. She was the second speaker.
Yes, she was.
And they were mentioning how Cotton Mather, one of the early famous preachers in the American colonial period, used the rhetoric around Amalek to demonize Native Americans. And it was from a 1689 sermon. And he says, quote, "We will keep in the mount with our hands lifted up while you are in the field with your lives in your hands against the Amalek that is now annoying this Israel in the wilderness." So he was comparing the American colonial settlers to Israel and comparing the Native Americans to Amalek. So when he was giving this speech to soldiers getting ready to go out and fight, he was basically saying, yeah, it's okay because the Bible says it's okay to wipe out Amalek, so you can wipe out these Native Americans because they're pestering us. So
yeah,
that was gross. And Yeah, she also, all of the panelists, I believe, were either genocide scholars or scholars of the Holocaust, so they were eminently qualified.
So I was
discussing all of these topics.
I was specifically there to see Tracy Lamoche. I never. This is the fun thing about SBL is learning how everyone's names are pronounced. I always just said Tracy Lemos. It's Tracy Lamoche. She's done some phenomenal work on the conquest of Canaan, in the conversation with genocide. So been reading a lot of her stuff, especially over the course of the last year. I kind of fanboyed out a little bit at the end of the panel there, but it was that was a really good one. So
also, this is one of the panels I was really looking forward to, because when it was initially kind of publicized, there were some people making a stink about it because they were like, you're just going to be bashing Israel, and I don't like that. It shouldn't have gotten approved. And while they're within their rights to not be okay with that, I found that this, in my opinion, was the perfect venue to host a discussion on that, because I've noticed that things are only, quote, political when you don't like them, and showing how people abuse and misuse the Bible in order to, commit violence. That's a very relevant topic for the SBL. And it was really refreshing to hear 5 academics, one of which was a Christian Egyptian pastor, discuss, like, hey, we don't like it when people are doing this to the text. Here's examples, and here's modern examples. So obviously they were quoting Benjamin Netanyahu and some of the other right-wing leaders in Israel right now who have also used the Amalek passage in order to galvanize soldiers when they're going out to fight. So they discussed a lot of themes about dehumanization, animalization. There was quotes in there from, I think, Isaiah, where they were saying, Edom is going to be slaughtered among with the animals, and saying that essentially those two were equal categories in the prophet's mind. And when you're doing that kind of level of animalization of your enemies, comparing them to various pests and so forth, it makes it a lot easier to justify what you're doing.
Safwat Marzouk, who is the gentleman you're speaking of here, he's writing a commentary on the Book of Exodus right now. So I'm
it's gonna be pretty fire.
Pretty excited about that.
So just kind of going off my notes, Haverlock noted that labeling Palestinians as Amalek justifies violence and paints Jews as perpetually threatened. So invoking, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek, remember what they did to you, it kind of puts Jews in this threat state where, oh my God, we're about to be destroyed. We have to, lash out first. And kind of invoking that rhetoric. She pulled from Shaul Magid, who I love, discussion of eternal Judeo-pessimism. Just, we're always going to be victims. People are always going to hate us. There's always going to be anti-Semitism. And it's like, that was something that he wrestled with and critiqued and unpacked, which I found really, really powerful. If you don't read Shaul Magid, by the way, you should.
Do you know why you love Shaul Magid, Vishanti? I can tell you why. The reason why is I mean he's obviously just very cool and very on point, and we know this because he is married to a scholar of the Dead Sea Scrolls and early Judaism. So
there you go. That's a winning combo.
Yeah, it is. So can we hit a couple of questions and comments here? First of all, Matthew K. Wow, thanks. Nice to see you here. Your favorite Dead Sea Scrolls scholar is doing pretty good. I'm actually really good today because I had a just an insane weekend. I'll tell you a little bit about it later. But thanks for coming out. Good to see you here. Carrie Ann, maybe you missed it at the very beginning. I did not get to see Jennifer. Vishanti did. And
I did, and I got a selfie.
and you'll show us some of those pictures, I think, too, won't you, Vish?
Yeah, I have a few
Um,
of those saved.
So that was, and I had to leave on Monday, so I missed Dr. Bird, sadly. Big Zebra. I guess the Americans will let anybody over the border these days.
Oh man,
especially looking like this, right? It's always a challenge. I was only lightly harassed this time, which was nice. It was good. There's a question from Michael Beverly.
Mike.
Now, by the way, Michael, I will say I did. I appreciated the video that you uploaded a few days ago about Eric Manning and Michael Jones's hand wringing over Myth Vision's video about Dionysus. So that was quite good. Thank you for that. Michael Beverly has a question here. Jonathan Adler was critical of this panel. Was it the existence of the panel or what the panel was teaching or stating? I was a bit lost by his argument, and I stayed away from this, but maybe you.
Yeah, I know he
you can
got on
talk
my
a little bit
mentions
about
about it,
that.
so I've actually been kind of back and forth with him over this.
Mhm.
Initially, he was really super pissed off about the panel, and didn't super go into why, but I kind of knew why. After I did my write up, I think he may have seen it in the SBL tag on Blue Sky, so you can follow a feed of people posting about it. And he may have seen my write up about it because he was probably curious to see how it went. He was not there. He did not attend SBL this year, so obviously his judgments were just based on an abstract, which you probably shouldn't make judgments based on an abstract, but what do I know? He told me that some of his problem was that he didn't think that SBL was the place to push a political agenda. And my response to him on that front was, A, genocide scholars and Holocaust scholars are eminently qualified to be discussing how biblical texts are being used to justify violent rhetoric. And B, the only agenda that was being pushed is, hey, weaponizing the Bible is bad, actually. So in my estimation, that was a fine venue for it. There are some people who disagree that are aligned politically with me and some that aren't, which, okay, that's fine. It was a very respectful interchange. We weren't calling each other names or anything, but I wrongly suspect that his objections weren't just based on talking about politics at a Bible conference. I suspect it's because his personal politics are a little more right of center, and that his opinions on what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank are not what I analyze and take from it. So I feel like we will strongly disagree on that front. But also of note is that Ariel University, which is where he teaches and is an archaeologist, that's on an illegal West Bank settlement. So
ouch.
Take that as you may. But he also told me that one of his other problems is that he assumed it was just going to be Israel bashing the whole time, which it wasn't. There were criticisms of the current government, obviously, because some of the current leaders are, weaponizing the text. But it wasn't, 5 people getting up there saying, oh, F Israel, whatever. They were just saying, hey, the leaders are doing the same thing that other leaders have done in the past, and here's the results. Maybe we shouldn't, which I found very energizing and encouraging to hear scholars calling that out. And he was making it sound like someone needed to have 2,000 years worth of Jewish law context in order to kind of discuss these things, which I found silly because Jews aren't the only ones that can understand the text. And B, knowing Jewish law isn't really going to figure into how rhetoric works from political leaders. I don't think any political leaders, current or former, care what Jewish law says. So they're certainly not quoting it or making use of it in any of their political speeches. So that was kind of neither here nor there when he was trying to explain what his problems were with the panel. But yeah, I found most of those concerns largely to be unfounded, because when I go into a a forum where people are going to be discussing Israel and Palestine, I'm always very cautious and wary how they're going to discuss those things. And everyone was very respectful. There wasn't any anti-Semitism there. You know, one of the panelists was Jewish, and people had really smart and informed things to say about, hey, stop weaponizing the text for your crappy rhetoric. You know, don't hurt people and use this as a justification to do it. So love the panel. Tracy Lemos, who, you know, Kip was really thrilled to see, talked a lot about violence and personhood, and talked about hypermasculine domination and how people can use rhetoric around that and use text to justify that kind of like violent domination. She talked about animalization. She was the one that quoted Isaiah 34 and discussed like how the prophet was seeing personhood and worth in that particular passage, seeing Edomites as being on the same level as animals. So if you kill them together, that's fine. Marzuk, the Christian Egyptian pastor, was also really poignant. His father was, I think, an airman in the 1967 war. And
I believe that's what he said, yeah.
He said that he grew up wondering about the framework around this. Like, he only really got one side of the story, so he tried, you know, looking into this more, and he was asking really good questions about, like, hey, whose suffering matters more? And he also noted that there were at least 2 symposiums held in Israel about the Six-Day War in 1969 and 1992, and both of those symposiums were addressing the question of how the other is kind of described in stories about the nation itself, because it's still a baby nation. And so he discussed how the text of Joshua has historically been very uncomfortable in like the Jewish community because it's genocidal. There's really no way around that. So a lot of commentary has been expended on trying to wrestle with this text. And what he was discussing is how this particular conflict, the Six-Day War, really changed how a lot of Jews, especially Israeli Jews, felt about the text of Joshua, where it used to be really uncomfortable and I don't talk about it. A lot of them flipped kind of their perspective, going, no, actually, this is talking about us, or we can modernize it, or this is something we're using to kind of undergird what we're doing. So he unpacked a lot of that and was tracing the history of how people have felt about Joshua specifically, which I had never heard anybody deconstruct before. So it was really, really cool. And then Monica Ray, who also I found to be fantastic, was discussing how genocide is a process and it's a structure. It's not just a single event. And once you understand it as a process and a system, you start to go, oh, it's not as narrow as I thought. There are other opportunities to say X, Y, and Z is genocidal, not just this one super narrow definition. And that was really important for me to hear, because that's something that I deal with a lot in my organizing work is, hey, when I teach about anti-Semitism, I teach about different eras of anti-Semitism. How did it look in the medieval period? How did it look in the early modern and colonial period? What did it look like, you know, in the year 500 versus the year 1500? Anti-Semitism doesn't look the same in those eras, and it takes different forms. So if your education around what is anti-Semitic only focuses on the Holocaust, people will just completely miss all the other ways that that can show up. And I've had people tell me, like, Jews aren't, you know, marginalized because you're not in camps, you're not wearing like markers on your clothing. And that just completely misses how anti-Semitism has looked over the ages. And we have to really strengthen and broaden how we teach about this stuff. So hearing historians and genocide scholars and Holocaust scholars talk about, hey, these are the different ways that people justify their oppression of others was really important for me to hear, because that's stuff that I can use in my work. Yeah, it was so good. I cannot wait for all these papers to go.
I think I feel like I need it, because especially because Tomer's a friend and he's
Who's
living
living
it,
in
right?
Eretz Israel.
But
Mhm.
I think
Yep.
I kind of owe it to
Mhm.
him to kind of, and we all, this is such a frustrating situation. I can only imagine what it's like, actually being in there in the heart of it. And I have a number of
Yeah.
friends in Israel, and
Mhm.
it's a terrible situation to be in. Our, our thoughts
Yeah.
for those of us who pray. Our prayers are with you too, Tomer. um he says, I can only speak for myself. I care about my country, and our government sucks. I hate how
Yeah.
all of this went. I also hate how Israelis are dehumanized online. Absolutely. I know a lot of wonderful people. I can't understand this
Mhm.
hatred. We also
Nuance
suffer.
is inconvenient
It
for
absolutely,
people
yeah,
online.
it really is. We
Yeah.
went through October 7th. We still have 100
Mhm.
hostages.
Yep.
It saddens me that I can't control any of this. I can only hope
Yep.
that things will get better, and I really do too,
Uh,
because it is a terrible mess. It has made, it's one of these, I think being a biblical scholar, being in the field of biblical scholarship, having this network of
mhm.
friends and colleagues that, across the globe, right?
Yep.
This is one of these very, this is an issue that's really kind of brought a lot of things that were under the surface. Just kind of, you just have no
Yeah.
choice but to confront it.
Yeah.
Like, as an example, Matt and I have worked on putting together a grant application with the Norwegian government for a project,
Mhm.
and because of Norway's very, very strong, very uh, public political stance specifically against Israel. Um,
Mhm.
we, in our application, we just, there's no way we would ever get any funding if
Yeah.
we, if we worked with the IAA, or if we partnered with the IAA, the Israel Antiquities
Yeah.
Authority. And anyway, it's a government
Mhm.
agency, right? So that puts us, I mean, there's not a lot we can do
Oh.
without that access point, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that's just as kind of an example on how, and there's within this space too, right? There's all sorts
Yeah.
of people in the academic community who follow
Yeah.
multiple sides of this issue, and it's very
Yeah, and
frustrating.
I've noticed like the academics that were there were lots of Israeli academics there, people from Hebrew University, Bar Ilan, and other places, and they were there to present, listen to papers just like everybody else,
Yeah, yeah.
And there were folks walking around with their, kippah on. Nobody harassed them, as far as I could tell, and it was nice to be in an environment where I didn't feel
maybe
like I had to be constantly be on guard, you
maybe at
know.
ETS, but that's another
Maybe at
another,
ATS, right? Oh my god.
another story.
Yeah.
For
But
those who,
it sucks. Like,
yeah.
I live in the belly of the beast, right? I'm in the nucleus of empire right now, living in America, and
Mm.
I can I can definitely sympathize with Tomer being like, "Hey, my country's rulers currently suck, and people hate us because of that." Like, I remember right after 9/11 when America just started invading everybody, and the whole planet was like, "Ew, Americans!" Like, that was a very,
Yeah,
very similar
yeah.
sort of thing. So like I said, nuance can be very inconvenient for people online. They think, "Oh, well, you're all this one way." No,
It's
no,
funny because I
no.
think the only people on earth who hate our leader here in Canada are Canadians. So it's
Mm,
anyhow.
well,
Yeah, I also, so I wanted to, Hayden, it's good to see you here. I
ooh,
wanted to pull this up,
yeah.
in large part just because I wanted to draw people's attention to Hayden's podcast. He's got a new
Mm,
podcast. I wasn't ready for this. I'm sorry, Hayden. So I don't remember what your podcast is called. Can you throw that in the chat? I'm going to be Megan Lewis was on an episode, I think the inaugural episode of his podcast.
Nice.
I know Josh has been on or is going to be on. I'm going to be making an appearance. Oh, it's good to see you, Dan. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. Listen, for those who are unaware, the ETS is the Evangelical Theological Society, and they run a shadow conference in the same place as the Society of Biblical
Shadow
Literature.
Conference. That's a funny way to
it is, though. That's seriously what it is.
I mean, it is.
And the conference occurs on. I think it runs from Wednesday to Friday. SBL runs from Friday to Tuesday. So and it gives some people the opportunity to attend both. A bunch of excellent scholars do actually go to both ETS and SBL. But it's it's the kind of place where you do run into the evangelical apologetic folks. I was staying.
There's tea to be spilled there for sure.
I won't say anything, but I'll say that I was staying. Listen, I was staying at the Hilton, which is on the south side of the convention center. Matt and Dan were staying at the Marriott, which is on the north side of the convention center. The ETS conference was at the Marriott. So when Matt arrived, Dan didn't get there until Friday, but when Matt arrived on Thursday, he was already in full, damage control, trying to hide from notorious apologetic YouTubers who are all filling the halls of his hotel for ETS. But I don't know. They can have their their little pasty white incel old men.
We're not welcome at your club. We'll just make our own.
Pretty much, right? So there was a couple. I wanted to just say hi to Simone. Good to see you here. I had a question here from. Oh, did you grab that? Sorry, it's bad when both of us are doing this. April Parker had a question. Was the ancient Hebrew language Hebrew or Aramaic? And I think the answer is yes. I think it kind of depends on what you're talking about here. And I wonder if maybe the best way to respond to this question is that Hebrew, Aramaic is Hebrew and Aramaic are very closely related languages. Both were spoken more broadly in the region of Canaan. Aram is further to the north. Hebrew was spoken, in the southern parts of Canaan, but they're very, very close. We have some very important inscriptions in Aramaic. The Tel Dan inscription, which dates to the 9th century. Preserves mention of the house of Data. I said the house of Data, didn't I?
Data.
The house of David is an Aramaic inscription. So, and there are various connecting points with certainly the text of the Hebrew Bible and Jewish the emergence of Jewish religion in terms of this in terms of the two languages. Most of the Hebrew Bible texts are written in Hebrew. Hebrew is close to Aramaic. It's also close to Moabite and Edomite, fairly close to Ugaritic. It would be like super easy for you to learn Aramaic Tomer. Like you could pick it up in days, literally.
Yeah.
So it's but most of the all of the earliest Hebrew texts, all of the earliest texts in the Bible are Hebrew texts. Most of the texts in the Hebrew Bible are Hebrew texts. There is Aramaic literature in the Bible, in particular in the book, some of the
Daniel.
later books, in the book of Daniel, in the
Yeah.
book of Ezra. It's either Ezra or Nehemiah or both. So, and one of the other things that occurred was, so the nation of Israel, located in and around the city of Samaria, collapsed in the 8th century. The kingdom of Judah, centered around the city of Jerusalem, collapsed in the 6th century. Huge numbers of
BCE.
BC. Sorry, thanks, Fish. Huge numbers that of the people from Jerusalem were exiled to Babylon, where for their imperial language, like their language for communication across their vast empire, was Aramaic. And so there was a large dissemination of Aramaic among these Hebrew speaking populations. Some of our earliest Jewish community literature from the Elephantine settlement in Egypt is all Aramaic. But one of the enduring marks of Aramaic in the Hebrew Bible is the adoption of the Aramaic script as a replacement for the old Hebrew script. What we recognize as Hebrew is actually the script itself is actually an Aramaic script. The old Hebrew script basically disappeared from usage. It was held on to for quite a long time by the Samaritan community for some of their texts and their manuscripts. But
some
it's
people are used to thinking of it as Paleo Hebrew, but it's really just the Phoenician alphabet.
Yeah. So, but thank you for the question. Hive Indicator also asked, were Hebrew and Aramaic probably mutually intelligible? I think probably by large numbers of people, I would say there's a real strong lexical. They share a lot of the same words, right? Same goes
and
with,
I mean, there's instances where a word, like in biblical Hebrew, the article will be on the front of the word. So if you want to say the horse, hasus, and then if you're saying it in Aramaic, the article goes at the end of the word. So
Susa.
If you're just speaking one, that's easy to go between. So there's not huge leaps there. So yeah, Tomer, you could absolutely pick it up in like a week.
Yeah, it's apparently Syriac, by the way, is Syriac is by the way not is mostly a script. It's actually Aramaic as well. That has a maybe the most beautiful script, I think.
It's very pretty.
It's super cool.
The ultimate winner for handwriting and calligraphy purposes, though, is Arabic, hands down.
Yeah, no question.
Hands down. The calligraphy, like king language, it's Arabic.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So did SBL fight like the sharks? Are you kidding? I mean, no, because they'd get their asses absolutely trounced. I mean, not only do the SBLAAR crowd outnumber the ETS crowd by a factor of probably 30 or 40.
We have Mark Luchter, so
right.
That's our champion. I think it's going to go to the
we have Mark Luchter
side. We have Mark Luchter,
so there you go. And Dr. Jennifer Bird, who I think is pretty badass in I think she's taken jujitsu. I'm not sure, but
I won't test it.
That West Side Story really happened, by the way. Those people who think it was inspired by Shakespeare they really are. They are just not inspired by Shakespeare. I happen to mention to Michael in the comments of his channel, because he made this very excellent point that the works of Shakespeare have inspired literally thousands of pieces of English fiction, from short stories to novels to films to commercials to like what have you, right?
Yeah, but have you ever read Shakespeare in the original Klingon?
I have not. I know. So and the apparently, you know, the original Klingon even inspired the English Shakespeare. It's true. You're right.
That's right.
So but I have to say my favorite film adaptation of Shakespeare, and I'm probably dating myself, and it probably says a lot about me as a person, is the 1990s classic 10 Things I Hate About You, starring Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles. Brilliant, hilarious film. Also, it takes place in Seattle, which is cool because it's you know, it's just right over there. Yeah, it was that was good. So before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about what I did on Saturday, which was before I met up with you at the panel. For my Saturday, I went to I went to, well, first I had lunch with I had lunch with Michael Holmes, and some of you nerdy biblical scholars types in the audience might recognize, especially those of you more familiar with New Testament stuff. Michael Holmes is an excellent New Testament manuscript specialist, early Christian manuscript specialist. He's maybe, I suspect most people here would be familiar with his work. Recently, he was one of the editors, publishers of P-Oxy 5575, which is a fragment of text that's been identified as I actually asked him about this at lunch. He calls it a proto-gospel. It's wild. It's 8 or 9 lines of text. It's quite small, but it contains text that looks a little bit like the Gospel of Luke. Some of it looks a little bit like the Gospel of Matthew. Some of it looks a little bit like the Gospel of Thomas, all in the space of like 8 or 9 fragmentary lines.
Dang.
He dates, so it's like, you know, it's because it's so small, it's difficult to date, but it could be as early as mid 2nd century BCE, which would make it potentially.
What?
This could be the oldest Christian manuscript. I don't think scholars are prepared to say, you know, it's certainly that old. Like the gamut is large here. Brett Nongbree, who runs the phenomenal blog Variant Readings, he's at MF Norwegian School of Theology in Oslo. That one particularly doesn't. But I know Brent has said, you know, it could be mid 2nd century, could be mid 3rd century. It's super old though. Like let's not kid ourselves. It's right up there with the with P52 or P61 or P66. Like it's in that same conversation, right, of early Christian manuscripts. Anyways,
my brain is fried because when I think of all the P designations, I think of P22, this famous LA mountain lion that passed a couple years ago. Yeah, it's a whole thing around here in LA. If you ask an LA resident about P22, they'll be like, "Oh, rest in peace, P22." Anyway.
Yeah, a very astute decision, grumpy librarian. But anyways, I had lunch with Mike Holmes on Saturday, which was wonderful, lovely. I used to work for Mike. He was my boss when I was doing work at the bye, Anne.
Hi, Stevens.
So I when I was working on doing work for the Museum of the Bible, he was basically my boss. He's a terrific guy. We met up for lunch, and then he and I went straight over to a book review section that I was very, very excited about. My friend Roberta Mazza earlier this year published a phenomenal book Stolen Fragments, Black Markets, Bad Faith, and the Illicit Trade in Ancient Artifacts. So he was a respondent to this book, along with another friend, Liv Ingeborg Lead, who was actually Matt Monger's PhD supervisor, his Dr.
Oh.
Okay. So that it was it was a lot of within my kind of my world. There was a lot of people that I I've worked with. I've got to know Christian Askeland, who's a regular contributor at Evangelical Textual Criticism blog. He was there. Bobby Duke, who was one of my co-editors on the Museum of the Bible volume, was there. He is now actually the curator at the Museum of the Bible, which is interesting. Drew Longaker, who's done some blogging also, I think, at Evangelical Textual Criticism, was there. Brent Nongbury, who runs Faces and Voices, and honestly, guys, if you're not Faces and Voices, Variant Readings, I'll show you this quickly. If you're not following these excellent blogs, I think you should be. Roberta Mazza, brilliant papyrologist. She's currently in I think she's in Livorno, Italy. Is that right? She teaches in Italy now. She used to be at the University of Manchester for many years, and we are all the poorer, those of us Manchester alums, for the fact that she's not there anymore. I mean, I guess we can still talk to her and hang out, but it's she was at Manchester. Roberta is brilliant. She runs this excellent blog called Faces and Voices. You should all check it out. You should all buy this book, because this is an awesome book. It's not just, I'm going to show it again. It's not just interesting. It's crazy entertaining. It's super fun. It's a it's part whodunit, part like true crime, part biblical scholarship nerdiness, right? So
love it.
yeah. So and I'll show this one. I'll stop that. So Brent Nongbury runs the other one I have here. Brent Nongbury runs Variant Readings, and he's the first. He's literally, this is the first place I go when it comes to anything, any news about New Testament manuscripts, anything that's happening with New Testament or early Christian manuscripts. I check Brent's blog, because Brent, in my opinion, is probably he's on the cutting edge of
send me these links so I can put them in the chat.
Hey, yeah, good idea. So I will try and do that. So that's what I did on Saturday afternoon before meeting up with Vish. Let's see, maybe I can put them in the chat. So yeah, it was an excellent. Is that going to work? It's probably too big. Oh, you did. Oh no, that's it. It's so big. I think that's the book.
Split it into two.
Yeah. Here, okay. That was the book. That's no good. Listen, if you're gonna buy the book, just look it up on Amazon. It's super easy.
I'm gonna see if I can share a shorter link.
Oh, good idea. There's Brent's.
That one's a little easier to.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. All right. So there's Brent's blog. There's the book. There's Roberta's blog. Yeah. Check it out, people. It's all really good stuff.
2 bookmarks.
So yeah. So that was Saturday. We had a great time. You went out with. I wanted to say also one of the highlights for me at that excellent panel on Old Testament violence and genocide was I got to connect with an old friend. Seth Sanders was there. So it was cool to see him. And I should have known this. But I didn't until I just sat down. I sat down in my seat, and the room was filling up. It was not a very big room, and it was packed.
Yeah, it should have been bigger.
Yeah, really should
twice as
have.
big.
It was filling up, and as it was filling up, I looked at the front, and I saw a familiar face. And as one does at SBL, the very first thing you do is you always check everyone's name tags. And sure
Yeah,
enough,
there's the
it was yes,
yeah.
exactly. Dr. Alexiana Fry was there. She and I have not had the we've done some streams together. We've been working on another project off and on together. So it was nice. Got a chance to
Mhm.
meet her in person. She gave me a huge hug and just about knocked me out of my chair, which was fun, but
Love it.
and unexpected. So yeah, that was cool. So that was Saturday,
Yeah.
and then in the evening, you went out
Mhm.
with Dan. Dan had a meetup with some people from his Discord, I think, right?
Yeah, we tried to make that happen and it just did not work. Like no schedules were aligning. It was just this crazy tag you're it kind of thing. So eventually like a group of us just went out and grabbed dinner, which was pretty cool anyway.
Yeah.
So it was funny like waiting for the table. Barterman just walks in and I'm sitting here like screaming internally, you know, freaking Bart Ehrman. And he's tiny, short little king too. But yeah, it's funny because like
biblical scholars.
a lot of these people
Honestly,
know each
most
other.
of them are pretty short.
Yeah, but it's like for me, I've just been watching these people on like a little tiny screen for the past few years, and then like I'm seeing all these folks in person for the first time. So I'm like, oh, you're a real human person. And I'm getting all excited. And yeah, he just walks by, and of course, because a lot of these people already know each other, they're like, hey Dan, hey Bart. And I'm just sitting here like, oh my god. So a little surreal.
Yes, much better than the surreal experience that Matt had in his hotel. You know, the day he
folks.
arrived. Yes, he's snapping and sending pictures out of William Lane Craig and Mike Winger and a certain Egyptologist that shall not be named, you know, wandering around in his hotel as he's hiding behind plants, trying to make sure he, you know. So, anyways, yeah. So that was Saturday. Saturday was fun. Oh, we went to I think afterwards, right? You connected, you and Dan and Matt and I connected at the Enoch seminar reception.
Yeah. We crashed the Enoch seminar reception.
Yep. So, well, all of us except for Matt crashed the Enoch seminar.
That's true. Yeah, that's where
But
we crashed.
Yes,
he didn't.
Yes. So
he was legitimately invited.
He's actually a member of the Enoch seminar. For some reason, I've never presented at the Enoch seminar. I'm not entirely sure. It's just been
get on that.
I know it's been a timing thing. So don't be ridiculous, Vadim.
No, he was not there.
Yeah, I mean, you know who else also wasn't there and who's never been is one Richard Carrier, or I should say, I think he went to an annual meeting once. But yeah, so no. Listen, the kooks. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there's plenty of kooks in SBL, but I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't. They don't make they don't make much of a dent. So yeah, so the Enoch seminar was fun. Got to connect again with a bunch of
clearly it's just because they're a bunch of ivory tower elitists.
That's what we are. You know,
and it's
I feel
definitely not because the ideas don't have any like substantial evidence to back them up or anything. It's definitely not that.
So yeah, I don't have to say it. Others are saying it for me. But listen, Vish, if I can't, you know, prance around being an Ivy League elitist, then
Right.
What am I doing?
What were all those
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars in
It's
years for?
it's gotta buy me some
Lording it over people.
cred. Yes. Can't confirm, keep deny, liars and frauds.
Grief.
True. So one of the fun things that happened this when I was at the Enoch seminar, I ran into another friend, Cecilia Wasson, teaches at the University of Uppsala in Sweden, and what?
Joel.
Oh yes,
Freaking Joel.
sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Joel.
Good to know.
Did in fact go to Oxford, the city.
So my Cecilia Wasson teaches at the University of Uppsala in Sweden, and she years ago, like 5 years ago, I was she was editing a it's either a dictionary or an encyclopedia of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the now's your chance, Dan. Your one and only chance.
Yeah.
So but I was asked to write an introduction to the scholarship and the history of publication of the Dead Sea Scrolls for this encyclopedia. I sent it in, I met all my deadlines, and then as is often the case, I heard nothing for a couple of years. I just assumed that the project had been scrapped, and I show up at the Enoch seminar. I'm hanging out with Cecilia Wasson, and she tells me that she's just about ready to get her first draft done. So hey guys, it's coming out.
Well,
it's finally coming out. So better late than never. So so that was Saturday, I think, wasn't it? That was Saturday. It was a day.
Thank you. That's funny.
You and Jeremiah J. Johnston, Hive
That's
Indicator.
Right.
You are in the same camp. So speaking of Jeremiah J. Johnston, one of the things I expended way too much energy doing while I was at SBL was avoiding one Craig A. Evans, who's a good friend of Jeremiah J. Johnston, and let it be known to everyone, apparently, while I was there, that he is not happy with me. I heard from 3 people. Yes, the trick is to be in Oxford and not of Oxford.
That's right.
Very good. That's rule number 1, I believe. Am I right about that, Dan? Joel? These guys will set me straight. So, but I was told while I was at the conference by 3 people that they had actually been emailed directly by Professor Evans about me. So,
that's right. You're a big fat meanie head.
I am a big fat.
You're so mean.
Head. So, the question is, Kip, did you do a did I do a book signing and give out a business card? I mean, we can't all be such luminaries. Josh, you should know. I'm just a pleb.
Oh my God.
I'm just one of the SBL plebs. So I don't
unwashed masses.
Yes, one of the unwashed masses. So Sunday I went to the Qumran section. There was actually 2. I went to the morning section, which and they did something interesting and new to me. This is something that SBL apparently has been experimenting a little bit with lately. Are these I think they call them like micro sections ordinarily at a session. They're usually 2.5 to 3 hours, and they usually feature 4 or 5, maybe 6 individual papers. People, get up, they read their papers. There's some time for some questions afterwards. The Qumran section offered what they called like a microsection, where in this 3-hour block, they actually had 9 presenters. And each presenter was given a hard 8-minute limit and was told, get to the point. And honestly, I gotta say, especially in a venue and in a setting like that, where it's a lot of specialists, right? You don't have to um meander around the introductory stuff and contextualizing a lot of your points. People, there's a broad base of background knowledge already. I think even like you were there for that section. I think even as someone who has entered, has not kind of grown up in Qumran academics, I think it was easy enough for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really struggling with any of it. I mean, there was some really hyper specific
technical
language,
stuff, right?
occasionally technical stuff, but like overall I was keeping up, I thought, pretty well, and that's because I watched your videos. I've taken like at least a course on related topics, so
nice.
It wasn't completely impenetrable for me.
But
that was the session where he showed his database, right?
Yeah, this is Matt Monger presented in the Qumran section, and put that link in the chat. So
go get that.
So the idea is to do like 9 of these really short little summary papers, presentations, and to leave lots of room for like a dialogue among the attendees, the people in the audience. I thought it was great. I was not sure how this was going to look kind of going into it, but I thought it was fantastic. They did the first 5 papers, and then they had like 30 minutes of just straight, discussion about whatever people wanted to talk about related to all of them. And then they did the final 4, and Matt gave his presentation at the database that he has put together over the course of the last it's probably been 2 years he's been working on this. So it's a searchable open access database of scribal features. Vish has put the link into the chat. It's scribal features of the Dead Sea Scrolls, based on everything that's been published in Discoveries of the Judean Desert. Discoveries in the Judean Desert. That's the official series of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So there you can and you can organize, and you can,
by keyword. It's so cool.
You can do keyword searches. He's linked everything there to the IAA photographic database. And you can organize things on the basis of like line length or column height or script size. Terrific resource. It's something that I know Matt has big plans for, hoping to expand, and hopefully at some point, because there are some severe limitations with DJD, with Discoveries in the Judean Desert. I think the hope eventually is to start just adding a lot of our own metrics on some of this stuff, because a lot of it just needs to be redone and consolidated. So but the micro sessions, they were excellent, and Matt's paper was and his presentation of the database was excellent. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about?
And he was actually, he mentioned that he was glad that he presented the database while it was in progress rather than when it was, done, quote unquote, because not only is he still looking around for good Python coders, but he's also wanting more scholars to get involved, because, I mean, who else is qualified to help talk about what the keyword should be and the metrics that you're going to use than the people who are in the field? So he got a lot of interest in that, and I'm really glad. And I hope that with all the crowdsourcing, that he really is able to make this baby what he wants it to be.
Even when I was hanging out with him on Monday before I left, he had told me that he had already been in contact with coders and a couple of there was like a guy who does digital humanities. That reached out to him already. And yes, Marcos Malo, we will be sure to stick all the links that we mentioned
in the description, at least.
Yep, in the description of the video after we're done. So right, so that was Sunday morning. I was late. So no, I wasn't. So I have to tell you this. I came, the film company told me that they wanted to meet me outside of the Qumran section like 30 minutes early, right? So they're like, so they're like, please, let's meet right outside the room early. So I went, grabbed a very badly overpriced cup of coffee, and I went to the
when
room.
You could have gotten it from the exhibition hall.
Yes. So I went and I sat there and I waited for like 20 minutes and no one showed up. So there's a reason for this, Vadim, and it's that the camera on my own phone. I'm getting a new phone in February, but I have to wait until then, and the camera on my phone is totally kaput. Vish has some pictures though, so
I do.
But I when they finally did catch up to me, Michael Langlois was very apologetic to me. Apparently he was the reason they were late because they went to a church service, put on by another one of the affiliates, not ET. Well, ETS was done by that time, right? They all went home, but the Institute of Biblical Research, I guess, put on a Sunday morning worship service. So Michael figured
just blew you off so they could go to church.
Blew me off to go to church. Go figure, right? So I don't blame the fine people who are putting on the film. But it's rude, Michael. So all right, there's a picture. And yes, that is a Spider-Man shirt.
He's as tall as Jesus, but not as tall as Satan.
There's do you have a picture of me with I can probably pull up.
I know you posted
I posted the group photo. Did you?
So you should probably
let me grab that one.
Okay, you can go grab it. So Sunday night, while he's grabbing that, we went to a screening of Satan's Guide to the Bible, which was really fun. They had free wine and snacks.
Excellent wine too, by the way.
Excellent wine. And there was a Q&A between the two screenings. There was one at 5, and then one at 6:37, something like that. And we got to drink some wine, network, hang out, and then go in for the Q&A, which I think Kip moderated. And then we got to sit through. We were going to sit through part of the next screening of Satan's Guide.
But we were starving.
So it was like me, Kit, Matt Monger, and I think Aaron Adair. And
we met up with Aaron Adair at the Satan's Guide
in the lobby
screening, which was super fun. So
he's cool people.
From left to right, there is Tim Johnson, the producer of Satan's Guide.
There's Satan and then Tim,
and the voice, correct, the voice of Satan himself. There's Matt Monger. There's me, and Zeke Priestrup, who wrote and directed Satan's Guide to the Bible. He had actually written and directed a film prior to this. I was unaware of this until after I got to know him. But Zeke wrote and directed a film about Harold camping called Apocalypse Here, and actually got to spend quite a bit of time with Harold camping in the days leading up to the prophecy, the prophecy,
the failed prophecy,
the failed prophecy date. It's a great film. If you can, if you get the opportunity to find it, to see. I got another good picture here. So that's not it. Okay, let's go to this one here.
Oh, there we are.
There we go. So there is Vish and me and Dan. I actually don't think Dan's that much taller than me. I think this is just I think I'm kind of slouching a bit, and
you're
maybe
just
this is
blaming it on perspective.
The perspective, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely I am. This is the gentleman on the left there. This is Logan Williams. You might see him hanging around on Twitter. He's a terrific guy. He's at the University of Aberdeen. He's
I had just watched one of his episodes of Date Over Dogma right before the convention, which is why I thought I had already met him and why he was looking at me like I grew two heads. I was like, oh, I know who you are. And he was like, but we've never met. And then I realized after the fact that, oh, I was just remembering his time on the podcast. Whoops.
Oopsie.
And yeah, as Marcos Omalo was pointing out, this is false perspective. You would be taller if you were in the foreground, not shorter, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm convinced it's okay. So anyways, Logan is super cool. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. He's good.
He's we've connected a little bit on Twitter before. This is my first opportunity to meet him. He's done some, most recently he and I have talked a fair bit because he's done some writing recently on 4Q491, which is a K4 copy of the War Scroll. It's a manuscript that I'm kind of obsessed with. He's caught the bug.
Nice.
He's kind of obsessed with this manuscript too. So so we nerded out about that for a little bit. It was yeah, it was sorry, I got distracted by Simone's comment. Yeah, so it was great. Oh, by the way, another I should mention this in connection with Logan. Logan did a stream with I think with What Your Pastor Didn't Tell You, and with Joel, with Zach Miller and Joel Carrico, all about it, basically responding to the nonsense of this. I don't even know who I never heard of this guy before, but there's this this guy promoting himself as some sort of specialist in Hebrew and ancient Israelite religion on Alex O'Connor's channel. If you're still in the chat, Joel, remind me who this guy was. But Alex O'Connor had this guy on saying all this unbelievably stupid nonsense about Hebrew and about the Hebrew Bible. So
I know who you're talking about. That's Mystify or Justify or Magnify. That's the guy. Magnify.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yep,
go check it. Is that also on your channel, Joel? I think that's on your channel too, right? So it's on both Magnify. Joel's channel. It's also on Zach Miller's channel. What Your Pastor Didn't Tell You. Go check it out. It's great. So Logan Williams participated in that as well. So that's
shout out. You know what this is. Shout out to Whippenstock for
the
flavored lip balm. That was a big hit in the exhibition room. This particular publisher, Whippenstock, has lip balm, and let me tell you,
what an awesome idea.
As I told Dan McClellan, I keep that thing on me, and it's lip balm.
Guys, speaking of Whip and stock. Maybe I should.
Mhm.
So maybe continue talking about
Yeah,
our
so
Sunday night
Sunday
while
night,
I find this
yeah,
other picture.
we were starving, so we
Yes.
did not stay for the whole screening, which is unfortunate because it's really entertaining. But we had all seen it multiple times before, so we felt justified in
Yeah.
pursuing our appetite. So we basically just started walking, deciding we would just find something along the way on the way back to the convention center. So we ended up eating, I think, Thai food, which
Oh,
was very delicious.
it was really good. The
I
Thai
just
food was.
inhaled a huge bowl of rice. I could have eaten easily 2 or 3 times that amount of rice. They should have given me more. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's those Filipino genes breeding true. I will
Yeah.
eat rice every day of my life. So that was really good. And then that I just basically we went and crashed. Wasn't it Sunday night? Was the Nordic thing? The
And
Nordic party?
we didn't crash that one. That was that
You were
was
invited
I was invited to that one. So yeah, we were all at the
when we
Nordic
crashed the Nordic
reception,
or went to the Nordic party.
which
Yeah.
is the Nordic reception is usually in my opinion, and I'm not, this is not because I'm like biased, y'all, but honestly, the Nordic reception at SBL is usually in the top 10, top 5, I think, every year. It's phenomenal.
They had chocolate cake, which automatically gets them points in my
So,
book.
and the one thing, like the thing is, guys, like you went to the Enoch reception, Vish, and
Mhm.
they gave you a drink
A little
ticket,
drink
right?
tickets.
And you got a tiny little glass of communion wine.
Yeah.
Then you had
Yeah.
the privilege to spend $20 for a second glass of wine if you so want to. No, listen, guys,
Yeah.
the Nordics do it right. It's a it's an open
Open
bar
bar, baby.
at the Nordic
Mhm.
reception. There's
Whole
food
ass table
and
of
cake.
food.
The room was
Yes.
way too small, but honestly they should have known better, because usually there is
It's like
like
the size of a closet.
200 people at the Nordic reception. So we went and hung out at the Nordic reception, which was awesome. Again, just got to connect with my people. So I figured I should mention this. Another fine book published by Whitfenstock that we learned about while we're at SBL is this volume here. There we go.
Oh, Torlight. Yes. Oh, that's one of the titles of all time.
That's a title, y'all.
You need to make that bigger.
Do
Like,
I can
yeah, make that way
can you
bigger so that I
bring
can
okay
spotlight it.
uh
Yeah.
can I
Like
let's see,
zoom way in.
I can do
Yeah.
that. Can I
And then
zoom
just zoom in.
in? Oh
Sure
shoot,
you
not
can.
because it's not on. I don't think I can. Oh yeah, there we go. Here we go. There we go.
Yeah, so this is a book.
These are
My
Torleif Elgvin's translations of the Hodayot. Torleif Elgvin is a probably the most famous Dead Sea Scrolls scholar in Norway. So I used to work with him. He was when I lived in Norway. He was the supervisor of the project that I was working for. But so he has published this book with that title. I believe the title is a direct translation from the Norwegian, which is a direct translation from the Hebrew in the Hodayot. But yeah, that's the title. So
it sure is a title.
Yeah. One I
Mm,
oh look
Very
there.
famous for all the right reasons. Yeah.
There's Dan Beecher.
This was Tuesday. I took this photo of Dan Beecher wearing this amazing shirt. Wake up sluts, it's time to sin, which
At
had me
SBL.
just he wore it at SBL. And You can tell he's very proud of it. So
you're a hero, Dan Beecher. You really are.
What a legend.
Like, what a legend. Legend. So
I will say this. So Sunday night was the Nordic reception. The room was way too small and way too full of people, and I just could not. My introvert self was like, nope, gotta go. Too many people, too many things happening. So I went and crashed out. And the next morning, I was staying with a friend in not far from San Diego, so I didn't have to spend hundreds of dollars lodging, and he made an amazing
you had a
breakfast
delicious
for
breakfast.
Fried eggs, turkey bacon, toast, hash browns, coffee, and not pictured are the literal pan-sized pancakes. So literal the size of the entire pancakes.
Vish, I only just noticed
I'm hungry.
that your friend has a red rum coffee cup. That's awesome. I love it.
I was wondering when anybody was going to notice that.
Vadim wants you to explain the mug. Is that a real question, Vadim?
Is that a real question? Because it's from
I mean, we can, but that's
I can. It's just it's from The Shining. So.
Wow.
Yeah, my friend, much like myself, he likes spooky movies. So when he was like, "Hey, I have a red rum mug. Is that weird?" I'm like, "No, I will drink out of the red rum mug." So I also learned that Matt Monger likes spooky movies, so I will be compiling lists for the both of them.
So if you haven't seen it, go watch The Shining. And then after you watch The Shining, you should also watch Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
The sequel, which is phenomenal.
Oh, it's good.
So
it's good.
But
quite liked it.
So Vadim says that not everyone has that written on their coffee.
True. That is true.
That's a fair observation. So
yeah, that was Monday morning.
That was Monday morning. That's right.
That was a good breakfast for me to eat because I went all freaking day Monday. That was the longest day for me by far. I got to the convention center around like 9:30ish and didn't leave until probably 7 p.m. and not staying on site makes that exhausting. So that's why I really didn't do much of anything on Monday night. I was completely wiped out.
You can't wander back to your hotel room for
nope, couldn't take a nap. That's as anybody who knows me knows, I love naps and I need them almost daily. So not being able to take a nap was pretty rough. Also, who's shining? If you say Kings and not Kubrick's, I'll unsubscribe.
Oh no!
Oops.
What if
Star War?
Listen, I think
that's funny.
Kubrick's Shining is I mean I loved Kings, obviously.
They're two different stories, though.
But it's two totally different things, right? And honestly, I'll tell you what it is for me. It's the lodge at Mount Hood, which is what Kubrick selected for his filming location, right?
Stanley Hotel, I think.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like it's a character.
Iconic.
It is a character in the movie, and dude, like it. Oh, it just I had seeing The Shining made me want. I mean, it put a bug in my ass and got me to Mount Hood to go snowboarding, right? Like that's the reason I went.
Timberland Lodge.
That's it. Thank you.
That's my bucket list.
Timberland Lodge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Marcus Omalo, Vishanti, if you like horror, what did you think of Midsommar? Loved it. I own an officially bound printed version of the screenplay that I got from A24. I loved Midsommar. It is the best breakup movie of all time. Yeah.
Now I have to watch it again. As soon as you said
you're uncomfortable.
I have to
no, that's literally the writer basically wrote a movie when he had a breakup, and
Oh
that's
my
where
gosh.
a lot of the core of that story came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Marcus Amal is saying, trick question, Midsummer's a rom-com breakup movie, not a horror. I wouldn't say it's rom-com necessarily, but it is a breakup movie. And A24 this year, they in their gift shop, they sell little tchotchkes and stuff based on a lot of their movies. And for a couple years, they've had an incense burner shaped like the little yellow cabin that they set fire to at the end of the movie. And this year, they're offering a May Queen tree topper. So if you buy any sort of holiday tree, you can get a May Queen topper for the tree. And I highly recommend it. If any of you want one, I'm a member of their like triple A24 whatever fan club thing. I've been a member for like a couple years, and I get a 30% discount until the end of tomorrow. So if you want one and you want it at discount, hit me up.
Wow. We may have to. I probably
we can talk.
It's probably yeah, we'll see. Okay. Oh, by the way, I noticed last night when I was watching something on Amazon that Longlegs is coming.
Oh, that was good.
Coming next week.
Oh, Longlegs was good.
I haven't seen it yet, y'all. But yeah, next week.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Next week.
That's good.
All right.
Satan.
So after the intermission, I have to say I have to talk a little bit about what I did on Monday morning. Anyone familiar with History Valley, Jacob Berman's channel?
Oh, Jacob.
No.
Yeah.
That Jacob was at SBL for the conference, and
yes, he was.
worked his ass off.
I think he did almost like 20 interviews. It is crazy.
At least he was interviewing everyone. The man was hustling. And I am very, and he had a great setup too. He's got I think he's got a new camera. He's got a couple of new wireless mics. So I went and did an interview with Jacob on Monday. So if y'all haven't subscribed, go check it out. He's got like content coming out of the woodwork over the next little while with all the filming that he did at SBL. And I got to meet Dr. Dennis McDonald, who apparently is Jacob's legitimate conference buddy, not the fake kind of conference buddy that some people want to brag about. He's legitimately a conference buddy of Jacob Berman. So yeah, go check out Jacob's channel. But that's what I did on Monday morning, and then I had to fly home, and I had to miss whiskey night on Monday. So I'm still sad about that, and bitter about all the texts that I received at 3 a.m. on Tuesday. Vish, what was going on Monday?
Oh, I stumbled into a panel on, I think, Palestine and Gaza and different scholarly analyses on genocide. I stumbled into it by accident because I got my schedule confused, and when I was walking to what I thought was going to be Dr. Bird's panel, I passed by a room where people were just clumped outside the room trying to get in. There were so many people trying to get into this room.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
And I'm like, what's going on here? And I looked in, and there was like something on the projector, and I was like, Arr! So being tiny, I slipped in and maneuvered my way close to the front. There were people sitting in the aisles, people against the wall, so I got to listen to a whole half of a presentation on genocide studies, and that was really cool, and I had a great time, and I got to do some networking there for another academic friend of mine here at Chapman University called her name's Shira Klein, and she helps run a collective for academics. It's called Academics for Peace. So you want to be in on that.
Awesome. That's great.
This thing. Yeah. So after that was over, I don't remember a whole lot because Monday night, I was exhausted. So it was kind of a blur.
Tell us about Jen's book panel.
Oh my God, it was so good. So Dr. Bird had a book come out very recently about marriage in the Bible.
Go get it.
And go get the book. And it's not that big. It's really not. It's not like one of these massive bricks of a book. And it was 4 or 5 other panelists reviewing her book. And she's sitting there while they're talking about it. And they all had such really smart and well-informed things to say. So yeah, marriage in the Bible. And
the book. Uh-oh.
So it has legs, yes. So yeah, Dr. Bird, I learned almost as much from the reviews of her book that I did from the book itself. So just hearing scholars talk about other scholars' work and analyzing it was freaking amazing.
I think I like book review panels maybe more than I like a lot of the actual sections. So
and then proof that I met Dr. Bird, and she is leaning way over to get in frame. I just want you to know that because again, Dr. Bird is quite tall. Quite tall. But yeah, that book review panel was great.
Is Jen a modern descendant of the Nephilim?
You know, the only thing I didn't have time to check for was like extra rows of teeth, maybe 6 fingers. Didn't really pay much attention to that, but no, I did have fun though. A lot of the co-panelists, their specialties were in just various areas. Vadim is asking me how cold was it in San Diego. I have a solid coat. Okay, so I'm cold basically all the time, and it wasn't that cold in San Diego, but the inside of the convention center gets real frigid. So if you're sitting in a panel room, you need to have a jacket.
That's fair. I'm Canadian.
So I mean, I had my scarf. Usually I had layers on, like a t-shirt and this flannel, and then my battle jacket. But we were on the way out of the building at that point, and it was getting kind of
evening
in the evening. So
yeah.
Temperature drops, it gets chilly. So
and Vishanti was not on her way to whiskey night. So
I was not on my way to whiskey night. I was getting ready to go to bed. So yeah, that's why I look very bundled up. That's pretty standard garb for me around this time of year. So
and then did you do anything then on Tuesday? Or did you just...
Yes, I did. I went to Dr. Bird and some other scholars presenting on like gender issues in the Bible. So there were people talking about trans and queer readings of certain texts, interpretive modes, different like intersectional issues when it came to like biblical studies. She was presiding over that panel. So there was a lot of really good stuff people had to say about that. Like obviously some of the narratives like David and Jonathan or Ruth and Naomi came up, as well as there was a whole ass paper on Judith and her servant and how the structure of slavery and privilege is conditional even in like that structure. Like this whole thing about like, hey, Judith is a woman who lives in a patriarchal structure, but even though she had certain privileges in the narrative, she still had a slave. So there was this interplay between the power dynamics of Judith v. Holofernes and Judith v. her servant. So that was really great, and I can't wait for that paper to go get published because I need to dig into that more. I also just love reading the book of Judith because where else do you get to hear about a couple of chicks cutting off a guy's head? So
SBL.
You know, that's right. SBL.
There you go.
So, yep.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
So,
we ate hot chicken.
Oh, yes, we did.
Eat Southern hot chicken for the first time.
Yeah. And that was very good. We ate a shit ton of tacos too. Yeah.
As is right and good. As is meat and proper.
You never get too many tacos.
Especially in Southern California.
No, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you didn't go the Satan's Guide to the Bible review panel. They actually had a SBL
because
review
I was
panel. You were at, yeah. But that was actually also on Tuesday. I wasn't able to attend, but I did get a note from Zeke Priestrup, the director, and he said it was super fun. He said he thought it went really, really well. Everyone had very nice things to say. So all in all, I think it was a pretty good meeting, pretty good conference. But my first one since before COVID, which was it was kind of funny because when I was at the SBL section, one of the people I ran into there is Maxine Grossman, who teaches at the University of Maryland. Brilliant Jewish scholar of Second Temple Judaism, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
They inducted Judith Plaskow into like one of the.
Oh,
I cannot remember what honor she received, but her book is extremely well known in Jewish circles. The Standing Again at Sinai.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah. So but it was funny because when I saw Maxine,
there's the main queen topper.
Oh, sweet.
You need it.
Yeah,
you need it. It's good.
But what I saw Maxine, she said, it's been so long since I've seen you. I haven't seen you, and then she said to me, I haven't been to SBL since like 2018, and I'm like, I haven't been to SBL since 2018. So,
yeah.
So there you go. So Vish, as having had your cherry popped, I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know. Tell me your thoughts of your first SBL meeting.
I absolutely loved it. It was everything that I had hoped and more, and I can't wait till next year in Boston. Honestly, it gives me an excuse to go back to Boston, which I got to do. I got to go there for the first time this year. So I will be very excited to revisit Boston. And it gave me half a dozen ideas about research that I want to work on and publish as well. And I was able to meet some academics. They gave me their cards. Some of them in the very specific niche fields that I want to investigate more. So that was really cool. People just being willing to network and share whatever resources they can, even though I'm not technically one of their peers yet. That was very encouraging. So I wasn't getting the sense that this is some snooty, like, members only Ivory Tower Club. It was like, oh my gosh, you're interested in this too. Let's talk about it for hours. So
I think people, my experiences have always been that for the most part, people in the field are pretty just pretty excited to talk about
it makes sense because when you're hyper specialized, there's just not that many people that you can blab with about it. So anybody that starts to show an interest, you just
exactly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I've got one here, one super chat. Thank you very much from Marcos Almalos too. Thanks, Fish Auntie. That made my day. I think that was what was that? I think that was when you were talking about the
Midsummer.
That might be when you were talking about Midsummer. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. So, but Marcos Almalos, thank you very much.
Ceviche. Ceviche, that's funny. I don't eat ceviche because it's treif, but that is funny. That is very funny.
Listen, one other thing that I'm going to want you to stick in the chat, and I'm going to encourage people to go look at it, is the link to your Vish list.
Yeah,
because
let me grab that.
Vishanti was bad, and she spent all her money on books.
Oh, I spent
was
money that
SBL
I
guys.
should not have on books.
So
they were all on sale. I had to get it.
Help her
Okay.
out, please.
Come on now. Hang on. Here, I'll just stick there in the chat.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah, there's a bunch of random stuff on there. More books because I can't stop. And some random practical stuff. And
it's a sickness.
I don't know. I should add like more practical things that I really need. Like, hey, I could throw a 20-pound bag of rice on there. I could put
that would work, right?
You know, but every time I add stuff, it's just a little tchotchke or a bookmark or another book because I can't stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, but here's the thing.
Simone is relating.
Yeah, I figured Simone would know. The fine folks at the JPS booth were giving me some encouragement though, because I have a book stack that's like growing and growing and growing, and I haven't made a dent in it, and I was starting to feel really guilty. But they were like, treat it like a fine wine. You don't just guzzle a fine wine. You savor it and enjoy it in like proportions. So treat your books like they're fine wine. And that made me feel less guilty about having an ever increasingly tall stack of books that I'm not able to make a dent in. So, yeah, it was dangerous for me to be in the exhibition hall because there's just aisles upon aisles upon aisles upon aisles of books, and they're all at least 40% off. And that is difficult to say no to.
Yeah. I assume that means you didn't that's probably for the best. You didn't participate in the the meeting and clearance. One thing that happens every year,
the mad rush on Tuesday.
Yeah, so Tuesday morning, they because it's expensive for publishers to ship their books to the conference and then back from the conference, so they don't want to do that. So on the last day, on Tuesday, at SBL every year, prices are slashed. And when I was a PhD student, I and all my PhD student buddies, we would line up at like 6 a.m. outside the hall, just waiting for the door to open, because as soon as that door opens, it's first come,
it's
first
a mad
serve,
dash.
and it's a mad dash to get your super cheap copies of Charles Worth's Pseudepigrapha. So, but
yeah, and I will say this though, a lot of those publishers still have their discounts not as steep.
That's true.
But
yes,
they're still at discount at least until the end of this month, and then some of them until the end of January. So if you want the books at discount, there are some folks who have been compiling lists of the publisher coupon codes. I saved a lot of catalogs and have been posting links to the coupon codes. So if you want those, find one of us on Blue Sky or Discord or whatever, because you can still get them at like 30-40% off. So I'm here to tempt you to buy books, because if I have a problem, you're gonna have a problem too.
All I can say is it's no wonder the librarian is grumpy, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fun. You got anything else?
No, I'm just in recovery mode.
In
recovery mode. I'm trying to plan what order to read these books in and like at what rate. Some of them are on Hebrew grammar, some are on Jewish leaders. One's a B'nai Mitzvah guide, so if I want to do an adult B'nai Mitzvah at some point, so that would help me prep for that. One's on another one, I can't remember what the other one was on. I got like 4 books, and
nice.
They're all going to be great, but it's going to have to be tactful because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yep. Indeed, there are. So, maybe I should talk about some stuff coming up. What is coming up?
Yeah.
Oh, Thursday's coming. We'll do another. Josh and I will be back for another episode of Kiriati Breet on Thursday. Josh and what's the shoot? This is bad now that I can't remember his name. Shoot. He Josh and this other guy. I feel terrible that I can't remember his name. Actually filled in and handled Kiriati Breet in my
Deconstruction Zone.
Deconstruction Zone. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
I was like, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, Deconstruction Zone.
That's
How
okay.
embarrassing. So they filled in and handled Kiriati Breet in my absence, which was very sweet. While I was traveling 2 weeks ago on Thursday, but Josh and I and Deconstruction Zone probably will be back in a couple days for that. We're supposed to, Josh and I are also supposed to be doing some recording with Holy Kool-Aid. He's putting together something about the conquest. These are like conquest narratives. So he's asked us to come on and talk about that.
Is he gonna say anything about his little Passover misstep?
I'm not gonna ask, Vish. I'm not.
Okay.
That's yeah. So I'm gonna leave that alone. You can fire away in the comments to your heart's content
and get banned immediately.
Yeah. There you go. I am in the middle of editing my interview footage with Heath Durrell. Dr. Dan McClellan and I had the opportunity to talk to Professor Heath Durrell at the University of Texas, Austin, about his fine work on child sacrifice in ancient Israel. It's a great conversation. I think it's super informative. I'm really excited about it. I'm in the middle of editing it. I'm kind of in awe at the fact that I still have it, because I had a crazy weekend. Over the weekend, I was at a family event over on Vancouver Island. I came home on Saturday night, and from the ferry, I drove my wife's aunt back home to Vancouver, and then turned around and drove out here to where I live in Chilliwack, which is like a 90-minute drive away. While we were driving, I got a phone call from my son, who was also driving back from the ferry, who had a flat tire. So we were like coordinating with BCAA and had to pick him up at the side of the highway. And there was like a big accident at a detour, and it was crazy. And we got home at like midnight on Saturday, and just as did you talk about getting to talk to Scott Stripling yet? Oh no, you're watching the wrong stream, Zach. That's not this stream. I don't care about speaking to Scott Stripling. You're thinking of that another stream on another channel. Okay. When I got home on Saturday night, Sunday morning at like midnight, at that moment, I realized that I had left my backpack. I carry my backpack with me everywhere. I left my backpack on the ferry. My backpack with my computer in it, with my headphones, with my my drives, like my external drives, one of which has my electronic library on it, which has like 500 volumes. It was a stressful time. It really was. But the crazy thing is that they found it. And so I drove all the way back out to the ferry this morning to go and collect my computer. So phew. I was able to do this. I was able to do this stream today, and I still have all my edited footage for the interview that Dan and I did with Heath Durrell. Keep your eyes open for that, because that's coming. And I can announce too that Stephen Woodford at Rationality Rules has sent me some clips of the upcoming episode that he and that Josh and I did on his channel as part of our ongoing response to Michael Jones and Dr. David Falk at Ancient Egypt and the Bible and their thoughts on the conquest. And it's good. It's really good, guys. I'm pretty happy about it. So keep your eyes open for that. I guess hey, did you guys, Vish, did you and Dapper, did you finish
No.
with you? Oh, all right.
Nope, not even close.
On Saturday, I guess we'll all be back together on Dapper's channel.
Dapper Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
I did a lot of stalling and tangents, and apparently someone in the comments did not like that.
Oh dear.
Oh well.
I apologize.
So, I don't care.
So that's sad. That's too bad. But we'll be, I guess we'll both be there, which is great. Anything else going on?
Aaron Adair sends regards and says that he was happy to meet everybody and he didn't make an ass of himself during his talk, so he counts that as a success.
Aaron is it just clicked with me. Short King. That's it, right?
Yeah, also Short King.
Aaron's a
he and Jacob.
King. So Jacob too. That's right, Jacob. Also a Short King. So it's fun when you meet people and you and you attach a pair of legs to the torso. It's pretty great. So
they still haven't seen whether or not I have legs. I've spoken about my knee. They don't know.
I can attest to the existence of your legs.
Yeah, but what good is the eyewitness testimony, man, without third-party verification?
It's true. It's true. I saw a picture. I saw a picture of you once, with Dapper Dinosaur at the LA Natural History Museum. And
the Natural History Museum.
You can see your legs in that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's out there.
For those of the people who don't know, I come up to about where Dapper Dinosaur's hip is, because he may look similar to a T-Rex, but he's not the size of a T-Rex. Are not that tall. Yeah, so
so that's a thing.
Oh, Neil.
And we probably won't. Yeah, we probably won't. But we're off for December. No Diablo Critics this month. Happy holidays, everyone. But I'll probably be back for another live maybe next week. I got something I'm thinking about, and
cool.
But otherwise, I have nothing else to say.
I was gonna say, if I could find the photo of myself and Dapper at the museum, but I'm starting to think that I put it
univocal voice.
Sorry. Univocal. Oh, there it is.
Oh, did you find it? Awesome.
Yeah, hang on. Let me open this in my browser and make it bigger so that
Are you guys ready for the proof, y'all? You ready for it?
There it is.
There we go.
That's proof I have legs.
Yep.
So
that's what she looks like.
Yep.
There you go. So
happen to be a little bit of an armchair expert on the subject, if I do say so myself.
Sorry. I got some new toys here.
I can tell.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I need to get out of here.
It is not Photoshop, Claude Simeon. I was there. We went to the museum. I have proof.
Have you ever watched?
The show today is no exception to some of the great work that I've done in the past.
Sorry, that honestly, that was a slip. That honestly was a slip. But have you guys not watched Dapper Dinosaur's channel. Like, has nobody seen it? It's how can you even?
I mean, clearly, if anything was going to be CGI in that, it's
Come
me.
on. Obviously. All right.
Obviously.
But we gotta go. So it's great seeing everyone. Thanks for hanging out, Vish, and
The show today is no exception to some.
My finger keeps slipping.
Dude.
I'm sorry. I'm bad at this.
Very professional.
Very professional. Okay. I'm actually I'm looking for my outro. But I don't know if I can see it. Where? Oh, there it is. I found it. So, but yeah. And thanks for meeting up with me and hanging out with me at SBL.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks for letting me tag along to some stuff. That was cool.
Super fun. All right. We're going to go now for real. See everyone.